Hello, everyone. Welcome to Feedstuffs 365. I'm Sarah Muirhead. Agricultural meteorologist Greg Soulje is with us here today. That's quite the mouthful, Greg.
Yes, it is. When you put that agricultural meteorologist and my name together, yeah, I'm still after how many decades trying to figure it out and say it right. So no worries.
Well, great to have you back here on
Thank you.
this Friday. Let's see what's going on for the next in the short term here. I know there's probably lots to talk about.
Yeah, and we'll have a lot more detail on this weekend's edition of This Week in Agribusiness, that infamous or famous, whatever you want, 4-week forecast, which continues outside this little cool snap to stay the course on early and often harvest. I think the main concern ought to be the talk of dryness and drought versus anything frost and freeze, which will not play out this weekend as expected around here. And hurricane season in the Atlantic, I don't know, may be uneventful just between you and I. Pretty uneventful for now and may be that way much of the remainder of the fall season. Anyway, onto the weather maps and charts around here. Some of the headlines across the Corn Belt, lots to squeeze in here prior to any of the shower activity, which came through in 1/4.5-inch coverage. This was a few days ago into the eastern and southern Corn Belt locales. We've had some new shower activity on the next cold front through the upper Midwest. Topsoil moisture, more than half, very short over a wide area from Ohio to Illinois. You can see the numbers between 61 and 54% respectively. And despite this drier spell and expanding dryness and drought, there are parts of Champaign and Piatt counties in east central Illinois that are now in a severe drought. It's small in stature, but growing and beginning to teleconnect out of the southern Corn Belt into areas east of Indiana and Ohio. Despite that, the crops are still in relatively good shape. 69% of the crop. Now, this is as a whole, the bigger picture, 69% good to excellent ratings. That's the best ratings as a whole, almost 70% since 2016. Beans are a little bit lesser in that category. Didn't have the numbers come in this week from the USDA. I suspect it's going to be beans, and the later planted varieties are going to take more of a quality hit going forward from the lack of any organized rainfall over a wide area here, probably for the next 2 weeks or so. We'll tell you when the next organized rains are coming in on this weekend's edition of This Week in Agribusiness. It's drier to at times maybe a normal round of rainfall on any given week between now and the beginning part of October, but anything recurring, repeating, probably not foreseen. And when it does get going, it'll be in the plains and western Corn Belt locale. So that said, between tropical moisture, a little spin-off moisture from Hurricane Lorena, very visible on the visible satellite picture down there. What is that? Cabo San Lucas. They had some flooding rainfall, some big rains in the Baja and some of those resort areas on the western side of Mexico, the Pacific side. So between that and a cold front, some degree of rainfall, which is currently situated over the southern sections of the winter wheat belt. Harvest of the small grain category continues on across Montana, the Dakotas, the southern Canadian Prairie. Try to get it done there and or any livestock operations you have going on, because it is not only a warmer weather pattern, but a wetter weather pattern for the Canadian Prairie, the Dakotas, Nebraska, points on westward the divide, moving into the mid to late portions of next week and beyond. So some good news with respect to pasture lands out there. Lots to squeeze in over the deep south and southeastern sections. We've got dryness and drought expanding. Kentucky, Arkansas, Tennessee, the topsoil ratings about 70% or so rated poor or very poor. Pasture lands beginning to take a hit down there through some of the equine country of Kentucky, and not much in the offing. Although this Friday afternoon and early on into the wee hours of Saturday, there may be at least maybe a 1/4 to 1/2 inch of rain that comes through the area, and a couple of severe storms in some of those areas south of the Ohio this afternoon and evening time. Meanwhile, across the west, it's Lorena. The Pacific Basin, far more active than the Atlantic Basin. You normally get that when it's an El Nino setup, not a La Nina setup. And anything that does come out of the Atlantic, we've got a lot of wind shear redeveloping over the eastern states, the southeastern part of the country, the southwest Atlantic. So things may move along at maybe a named pace at some point, maybe in the next 5 to 7 days, but then falls apart and becomes more or less just a significant rainmaker down through Florida and the deep south and southeastern states, maybe the southern mid-Atlantic region, where parts of central and south Florida as well are in the midst of ongoing dryness and drought. So the showers have resulted in flooding and will in parts of Arizona. They had rain around Las Vegas this morning, or lightning issues with increasing fire concerns again in the Pacific Northwest prior to the onset of what will be a significant wetter return in the Pacific Northwest, Northern Rockies, Northern Plains, and Southern Canadian Prairie developing next week. There is cold front number 2 making its way through the eastern Corn Belt, some wraparound shower activity, and probably some will see a water spout in the northern end of Lake Michigan and Lake Superior country moving forward over the next couple of days. Organized rains for the south end of winter week. Good news for pasture lands as well. Look at the blob of rain central and South Florida. I think we mentioned this in the past couple of get-togethers. It may be a year where we get these homegrown tropical systems, depressions, or weak tropical storms that form up somewhere in the northern Gulf or the far southwestern Atlantic, offshore Florida, or the Carolinas. Those things just tend to be rainmakers, which is not to be underestimated from a flooding standpoint. But that may be the story, I think, going forward with name systems that bear watching, but probably I don't think in the shorter term through probably the end of the month of September have any bearing on the southwestern, at least the mainland of the United States. And that is getting to be post at least a time of the year magnitude that tends to be a more dominant number of systems. Peak season is what we're trying to say in the Atlantic Basin. More shower activity for the Ohio Valley. Kentucky gets some rainfall. Good news there. Parts of Tennessee, not enough to end the dryness and drought, but maybe some topsoil moisture and enough to settle the dust, if you will, in that part of the country. Lorena and the monsoon setup continues in the southwest. Central and South Florida should continue to see right through Saturday drought easing rains, multi-inch down there. You can see the rains for the Ohio Valley. That's welcome news, and a cool northwest wind flow and a few sprinkles into parts of the Great Lakes region, while the moisture teleconnects northward into the Pacific Northwest. And there's an onshore weather system, a trough, if you will, and a deep one for the time of year, expected to move into that part of the country by Saturday. Scattered showers and thunderstorms over the southwest, the mid-Atlantic, and the northeast. There's another drier area of the country that would welcome the rainfall, and they will get it tomorrow afternoon and evening time, and by Sunday, high pressure builds in to the Corn Belt locales and the Great Lakes region. Still some wet weather down through Texas, the Gulf Coast, the southeast, and through Florida, and shower activity picking up into the Pacific Northwest. There's the next couple of days. Yes, a quarter to half, maybe local 3/4 inch amounts, and that's the last organized rain in the southernmost Corn Belt, Texas, I should say, Kentucky and Tennessee, for the next 2 weeks for openers. And so welcome rain in the south end of winter wheat. And again, some heavy downpours and flash flood potential through Arizona and New Mexico. Any severe weather this afternoon, 1 or 2 severe storms into sections of Kentucky and Tennessee. There is the smoke-related and fire-related issue into the Pacific Northwest. Wouldn't be surprised if we get a little smoke plume to work in out of the Canadian Prairie through the upper Midwest and down through the Great Lakes region over the next couple of days. That should help to set up some brilliant sunrise, sunsets if you're away from what will be lake effect clouds and moisture into parts of Michigan, Ohio, and upper Michigan as well. Note, so far, I haven't talked about frost or freeze like was getting kicked around over at Farm Progress and days before that. Just ain't going to happen. Never was going to expect it to be happen, at least out of this weather office. You can see a little system down there, that X, and the clusters of showers and thunderstorms way down in the southern Atlantic. There's a west-northwest track, but you can see cloudiness offshore of the eastern United States and just east of the Gulf Stream. And that would be an indicator. There's some wind, there's some lift, there's some air up aloft that's moving too quickly. Think of anything that does develop out of the Atlantic, runs right smack dab into wind shear, becomes a good rainmaker for parts of the southeast. Puerto Rico still in a drought as well. But from a slam bam hurricane tropical storm, just don't foresee it. There's the storm track the next several days, west northwest, and probably the Lesser Antilles get into some of that action as we move on through the next few days into early next week. Bears watching. I don't think it's going to be a headline storm, and that's it off the Atlantic Basin. 2 systems in the Pacific. Kiko moving westward. There's Lorena, and again, it's plume of moisture into Baja and a northward move into the southwestern states and Pacific Northwest and parts of the southern plains with time. Now, drought monitor. Here's the bigger picture. Really no significant change along the divide on westward. Modest improvement. Eastern Texas beginning to worsen again in some of the pasture lands through Oklahoma and western Oklahoma and more so Texas, and some expanding dryness and drought again into the western Corn Belt locales. I'm a little more concerned later autumn into southern and eastern areas of the Corn Belt versus western areas that will ultimately get into some of that Pacific Northwest and northern plains moisture. It's probably 2 weeks out. That puts us into about the 20th to 25th of September. So there may be a propensity for maybe a little more harvest delays at times built into that versus increasing dryness and drought. Eastern sections, I think I put a Midwestern shot in. Yeah, there it is. A little more regional look. You can see worsening from the Ozarks northward to the Missouri River. Of course, worsening through Kentucky and Ohio, and severe drought in areas just west of what was the farm progress there, Rantoul and Half Century at Decatur, Champaign, Piatt counties getting very dry, and they are moving along. Look at a split from our radio pals down there with a corn harvest underway in that particular part of the country. Headlines moving forward here continues to be building high pressure. No big story across the middle part of the country. Wet weather for the Gulf Coast, down through Texas as well. Downpours in through Arizona, New Mexico, the Pacific Northwest, which is good news. They are in the midst of a small grain harvest as well, and the winter wheat planting trying to get underway, but some welcome moisture that should ease drought conditions in the Pacific Northwest. You can see that deep plume of moisture down through Florida with the frontal boundary, and probably some tropical moisture from that system moving across the Atlantic. So that's the 7-day perspective. And there is the upper air perspective, Monday through Friday of next week. You can see troughiness moving into the western and northwestern reaches of the country. Broad southwest wind flow may initially means more in the way of fire and lightning, but then ultimately we think there'll be enough tropical moisture from Lorena, the Pacific, to actually generate some meaningful rainfall in the Pacific Northwest, and a couple of showers, thunderstorms still in the southwestern reaches of the country. A little arcing or building of high pressure by Thursday, Friday in the middle part of the country. We're not done with summertime. We're not done with low afternoon humidity, moisture reduction, dry down, evaporative losses, 0.5 to 3/4 of a percentage point on the corn meter side of things. So yeah, moving along, and crop maturity and harvest and all that kind of stuff that you like and appreciate, minus the dryness or drought-related issues for early to mid-September across the middle part of the country. Over the Monday through Friday timeframe, you can see one more little bubble high making its way Wednesday to Friday into the northern Great Lakes, northern and eastern Corn Belt. So after maybe readings that push 80 degrees or a little higher as far north as northern Illinois, the I-80 corridor, maybe some near 90-degree weather into the far southwestern Corn Belt. We will cool back down briefly to below average. No frost or freeze whatsoever, but a cool down for the Great Lakes and northern and eastern Corn Belt back into the upper 60s and 70s, a few degrees below average, and no organized rains at all. Missouri River, Red River Valley of the North on westward will be the story going forward over the next 7 to 10 days. Here's a quick snapshot on Sunday morning lows. If you squint real hard and cheat a little bit, maybe someone gets to 35, 36 for a half an hour out in the Corn Palace area. Everyone else, upper 30s to mostly 40s. So no need to worry about that stuff that was talked about and beat up a week to 10 days ago. And temperatures by Wednesday next week pushing 80 up towards the Chicago Board of Trade area, 90 close to St. Louis. And you can see some cooler air through the northern Great Lakes region. That's the stuff that'll settle on southward late next week with, again, some ups and downs on temperature, northern and eastern Corn Belt, no at all organized rainfall, probably for the next 3 weeks. We have that when it will rain again of meaning, and it won't be heavy on this weekend's edition of This Week in Agribusiness. It's a broad southwest wind flow. The lines are kind of going back to loosening up. They were compacted, meaning cooler on the move and a more busier weather pattern from a frontal boundary standpoint. And this is just kind of a lackadaisical late summer typical setup over much of the country. Some scattered showers, thunderstorms, northern and central plains on westward, dry weather for the Corn Belt, a little dip of the jet for the Carolinas down through Florida. That just means wet weather there. There's a temperature outlook heading forward. This takes us through the 18th of September from the feds. No endorsement, right ideas, stuff to talk about with readings in the upper 70s, 80s, and still not done with some 90-degree weather. Ought to be pretty nice at Husker Harvest out that way. Warm as well, or at least warmer as you get deeper onto the week out there at the Grand Island. And as you get maybe late next week, some increase in shower potential at Grand Island, more so in the Pacific Northwest, Northern Rockies, and into the Northern Plains. Hardly a drop of anything. Southern Plains into much of the Corn Belt. Wet weather continues on down through Florida. All this stuff will get updated, and I don't think it'll have much to update from this perspective on the 17th. It's a Wednesday. Our next live stream at 1 o'clock in the Central Time Zone. Our little half hour to get together, update the rest of the fall outlook, a couple of more thoughts on wintertime around here. And that's all I got for you here on a Friday, Sarah.
Very good. Yeah, lots going on. It looks like those of us that are heading out to Grand Island, Nebraska for Husker Harvest Days may need to take just a raincoat just in case, but it looks to be fairly good for us, right? Cooler temperatures and a little wind, but that's Nebraska. So
yeah, that's right. It always blows out there, but a little cool start to the festivities. Warm up expected, and maybe as you get ready to move on out and break it on down, a couple of showers, hit and miss potential there, but it ought to be another comfortable farm progress show out there as it was at Decatur and Max's little get together, although that was a little bit warm out there at Rantoul at Half Century. So good looking weather all around, not necessarily good weather if you're trying to chase the cobwebs out of the rain gauge over some parts of the Corn Belt.
Right, exactly. So Greg, thank you so much. We will touch base with you next week, and have a good one. And thank you all for joining us as well.
Thank you.